So yesterday we got the Avengers 4 Prelude comic. There was a lot of hype around this because we didn't know if it was going to reveal the title or anything about the movie at all. Everybody seemed to believe that we were going to get something, but we didn't really get anything.
We're a time bomb.
You need to step away.
Why shouldn't the guy let off a little steam?
Now, normally they have the title, but normally the title is already out, and we don't have the title yet. We don't really have anything yet. As you can see here, the title is just Avengers Prelude. Now, this is one of 3, but this particular Prelude, Part 1, is really just a recap of Avengers Infinity War. Well, a recap of the first quarter of Avengers Infinity War. So, I'm going to do a breakdown of the Prelude, but just as a heads up, there's nothing about Avengers 4 in here. And I do think they did that on purpose because they knew this would come out around the time that the trailer came out. But there is a Part 2 and a Part 3 coming, so I'm hoping those will include some scenes that were not in Avengers Infinity War. Okay, so this starts off just like the movie. Thanos on Thor's ship, he just killed half the Asgardians, the other half escaped. Thanos gives his speech about destiny arriving. He has Thor by the head and he's talking to Loki saying, "Give me the Tesseract or I'll kill your brother." Loki says, "Kill away," and Thanos starts to use the Power Stone on Thor, but of course we know Loki stops him and pulls out the Tesseract. We then get the famous line, "We have a Hulk." Then Thanos and the Hulk fight, and we know how that ends, but what is interesting about this comic strip is that the Power Stone is actually lit up inside of the gauntlet. My initial reaction is, well, Thanos is simply using the Power Stone to defeat the Hulk. I mean, it's the Hulk. But in a recent Q&A with the Russo brothers, they confirmed that Thanos didn't actually use the Power Stone to defeat the Hulk, he simply outsmarted him. So it's very curious that they have it glowing in this scene. Then of course Thor runs to his aid but can't do anything against Thanos, and then Ebony Maw holds him down with the metal. Heimdall calls for powers from the All-Fathers one last time to send the Hulk to Earth, and then of course Thanos kills him. Then Thor tells Thanos, "You're going to die for that, mad creature." He doesn't say mad creature in the movie, and it's worth noting that he doesn't say mad titan, he says mad creature. This sort of implies that he doesn't really know who Thanos is. Thor has a mass amount of knowledge about the Infinity Stones because of the events of Avengers Age of Ultron. He sets off to learn more about the Infinity Stones. But Thor gets his knowledge about Thanos from Gamora when the Guardians of the Galaxy pick him up. Then we have the scene where Ebony Maw praises Thanos and gives him the Tesseract. Then Thanos breaks the Tesseract and takes the Space Stone and puts it in the gauntlet. Then right after that, one of our favorites, Loki, comes out and tries to trick Thanos and attempts to kill him. Of course, Thanos knows what's coming and ends up killing Loki, as far as we're concerned so far at least. And then Thanos uses the Power Stone to destroy the rest of Thor's ship and uses the Space Stone to get himself and the children of Thanos out of there. So just like the movie, we cut to the next scene, which is the Hulk falling into the New York Sanctum Sanctorum. The Hulk crashes in and says, "Thanos is coming." But what's interesting about the comic is that he says a little bit more. He again says, "Thanos, he's coming for the stones. We need to find Tony Stark now." This is why these preludes are pretty cool, because you get a little bit more from them. Little tidbits here and there that you didn't get in the movie. We then cut right to the scene where Wong is explaining to Tony Stark and Bruce Banner what the Infinity Stones are. Tony says, "Pepper sure ain't gonna love me ditching out on her for this." This is a line that was not in the movie, but what this means is that Tony knows how big this is. This is what he's been fearing since the first Avengers movie in New York.
He said Loki. The attack on New York, that's him.
This is it.
Bruce tells Tony that he's gotta assemble the Avengers, but Tony explains to Bruce that the Avengers are kind of broken up right now. Banner tries to explain to Tony that Thor is gone. Banner believes that Thor is dead, and it doesn't matter if the Avengers are broken up or not, they're going to need everybody. But as he's explaining this, they start to hear noise outside, which is of course Ebony Maw and Cole Obsidian's ship. They then go outside, in which they encounter Ebony Maw and Cole Obsidian. Then Tony asks Banner to get the Hulk to come out. But what he says is a little bit different than what he says in the movie. Tony says Banner, or Hulk, want a piece. And Banner replies with, "I'm sorry, I can't," or "he won't." So right here, they're clearly stating that the Hulk and Banner are two very different people, much like we learned in Thor Ragnarok. The Hulk has a mind of his own, and he's done fighting Banner's fights for him, so that's why Banner says he won't come out. It seems like they're setting it up for Professor Hulk to come in Avengers 4, but we'll see what the next two Prelude comics have to say about it. We then go through the same scene that we saw in Infinity War, where Doctor Strange sends Banner to the park and Tony ends up there as well when he gets hit by Cole Obsidian's hammer. Spider-Man ends up showing up and saving Tony Stark, but here's where something gets really interesting. Ebony Maw tries to grab the Eye of Agamotto, which is holding the Time Stone from Doctor Strange, and he burns his hand. But what Doctor Strange says here is different than what he says in the movie. He says, "It's a simple spell binding the stone to me, but quite unbreakable." They add the binding the stone to me in this Prelude comic. It's not in the movie. You may have caught my video on the theory that Doctor Strange actually cursed the Time Stone. Well, this could further back that theory, because he didn't say that he put a curse on the Eye of Agamotto. He said that it's a simple spell binding the stone to me. So perhaps Doctor Strange really did curse the Time Stone, and that's why he gave it up to Thanos so easily. We'll have to wait and see on that one. So the next few strips are exactly like they are in the movie. Ebony Maw takes Doctor Strange and Iron Man sends Spider-Man after him. Wong ends up showing up and saves Tony from Cole Obsidian. And then Spider-Man ends up stuck on Ebony Maw's ship, in which Iron Man goes after him. As Spider-Man begins to run out of air and falls from the ship, Iron Man hits him with his new Iron Spider suit. That was such an amazing scene in the movie, and it looks just as amazing in the comic strip as well.
It smells like a new car in here.
Happy trails, kid. Friday, send him home.
Yep.
Tony sends him home, or so he thinks, and then Tony breaks his way onto the ship. Spider-Man is stowing away as well, and then Tony loses connection with Pepper and his AI Friday. The last scene in this strip is Banner talking to Wong, saying that he's gonna make a call. We then go to the Guardians of the Galaxy running into Thor in space. The next few strips are literally word for word just like they are in the movie. The Guardians wake Thor up and Thor explains that Thanos came and obliterated his ship. Gamora explains Thanos' history and that he's going to collect all of the Infinity Stones, and then Thor and Quill get into a fight of testosterone.
No, you're not. You will not be taking our pod today, sir.
Quill, are you making your voice deeper?
He just did it again.
This is my voice. You mocking me?
Thor explains that Thanos is going to nowhere to collect the Reality Stone. Thanos is going to nowhere because there are 6 Infinity Stones and Thanos already has 2 of them, the Space Stone and the Power Stone. Thor continues to explain that the Time and the Mind Stone are on Earth with the Avengers and nobody knows where the Soul Stone is, therefore Thanos must be going after the Reality Stone, which means he's going to nowhere. After the conversation with Thor, the Guardians of the Galaxy split up. Rocket and Groot go with Thor, and then Quill, Gamora, Drax, and Mantis go to nowhere. Thor, Rocket, and Groot go to Nidavellir to collect Stormbreaker, and the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy go to nowhere to try and stop Thanos. And then we cut to Wanda and Vision in the last scene in Scotland. After the events of Civil War, Wanda and Viz developed a relationship together and have been sneaking off randomly at times so they could be together. Remember that Wanda is technically a fugitive right now and is wanted by the United Nations. So this scene is just like it is in the movie as well. They're talking about not going back to the rest of the Avengers and staying together because their relationship works. Then Vision feels the stone and he says, "It's as if it's speaking to me. Tell me what you feel," and Wanda says, "I just feel you." And that's when they see the news on the TV in the background where the reporter says that there's been a spaceship that has touched down in Manhattan and that there have been several Avengers on site and now Iron Man is missing. And that's when Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive show up and stab Vision in the back all the way through the chest, which stops him from completely phasing and makes his systems fail. Wanda fights back and tries to get away with her and Vision, but Proxima Midnight shoots her out of the sky with her spear. This is where Vision then tells Wanda to please leave, but she says, "You asked me to stay, I'm staying." And that's where it ends. So, as you can see, this was just a recap of all the events that took place in the first quarter of Avengers Infinity War. And it really isn't any different than the movie. There were a few things that I picked up on that they put in the comic strip that weren't in the movie, but besides that, it was pretty much completely the same. And this was probably done intentionally, knowing that this would come out right around the time the trailer came out. And there are 2 more parts to it. So hopefully in part 2 and part 3, we'll get a little bit more information and a little bit more insight into Avengers 4. Part 2 comes out on January 9th, and the third part comes out on February 20th. So again, this was pretty much just a recap, not really any new information, but many people asked me to break it down, so of course I did. Thankfully, the trailer is still set to come out tomorrow, Friday, December 7th. So hopefully tomorrow we're going to learn a lot more about Avengers 4. Let me know down below what you think the title is going to be. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel with the notifications turned on so you can stay up to date on everything relating to Avengers 4. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.